Fleet Admiral Ryan Stone stood on the bridge of the battleship Vengeance, watching as ships from across human space gathered near. Earth, the largest fleet in human history, was forming up for the battle that would decide everything. Ships from every colony, every settlement, every outpost had come home to defend their birth world. Among the assembled vessels was a special ship that carried deep meaning. The transport New Hope had been rebuilt from the survivors of Colony 7. Jake Morrison now commanded it as Admiral Morrison, and every member of his crew was a survivor of the massacre. They had painted the names of the dead on the ship's hull. Admiral Stone, final count shows 847 human vessels ready for battle, reported his communications officer. All ships are reporting ready status. Ryan nodded. Grimly, 800 ships sounded impressive, but they were facing 12 planet killers and over 200 Council warships. The odds were terrible, but humanity had faced terrible odds before. Dr. Paul Mitchell was making final preparations for the Phoenix Protocol in his underground laboratory. The quantum tunneling technology had been improved and tested, but using it on this scale was still incredibly dangerous. Ships could be lost in quantum space forever, or they could appear inside solid objects and be destroyed instantly. "Are you sure this will work?" asked President Alan Hayes, who had come to oversee the final preparations. "Nothing is certain with quantum physics," Paul admitted. "But our test runs have been successful 78% of the time. That's better odds than fighting the Council fleet head-on." Paul looked at the massive quantum generators that would power the Phoenix Protocol. "Every ship in our fleet will be able to create temporary wormholes and appear anywhere in space. Instantly. We can strike from multiple directions at once, confuse their targeting systems, and hit their weak points before disappearing again." The first signs of the approaching Council fleet appeared on long-range sensors. Captain Victor Hughes continued his watch from Deep Space Monitor Delta, tracking the massive enemy formation as it moved toward Earth. "They're maintaining formation," Victor reported. "The planet killers are in the center, protected by rings of battleships and escort vessels. Estimated arrival at Earth in 6 hours." Back on Earth, General Chris Adams was coordinating the Phoenix Protocol deployment with commanders throughout the fleet. Each ship captain had been briefed on the strategy, but everyone knew that once the battle started, plans would change quickly. "Remember," Chris told the assembled captains over the communication network, "we hit them fast and hard, then disappear before they can respond. Don't try to be heroes. We need every ship to survive as long as possible." Admiral Grace Thompson had returned from her diplomatic mission with good news. The Galactic Rebellion fleet was on its way to Earth. Ships from dozens of species were racing toward Sol System, but they would not arrive for several hours. Earth would have to survive the initial assault alone. As the Council fleet approached the edge of the solar system, Supreme Chancellor Vorthak stood on the bridge of his flagship, the massive dreadnought Galactic Dominion. The ship was over 10 kilometers long and carried enough firepower to destroy entire star systems. "Admiral Kethver, begin the bombardment as soon as we reach optimal range," Vorthak ordered. "I want Earth turned into a dead rock. Let this be a lesson to anyone who dares challenge the Council." "Yes, Chancellor," Kethver replied. "Our planet killers will reduce Earth to ash within hours." The battle began when the Council fleet crossed into the outer solar system. The first wave of human defenders met them near Neptune's orbit. Jake Morrison led the charge in his rebuilt ship, firing everything he had at the approaching dreadnoughts. "All ships, execute Phoenix Protocol on my mark," Jake commanded. 3, 2, 1 mark. Suddenly, the space around the Council fleet filled with human ships appearing out of nowhere. They attacked from above, below, and all sides at once. Quantum tunnels opened and closed as human vessels struck and vanished like ghosts. The Council forces had never seen anything like it. Their targeting computers could not lock onto ships that disappeared and reappeared randomly. Confusion spread through their ranks as human vessels struck at critical systems and vanished before the Council could respond. But the planet killers continued their advance toward Earth. Their massive shields protected them from most human weapons. It would take something special to stop them. Colonel Amy Rodriguez had died at Colony 7, but her sacrifice had inspired others. Captain Nina Wells volunteered to lead a desperate mission. She would use the Phoenix Protocol to transport a ship loaded with quantum explosives directly into the flagship of Admiral Keffer. "This is a one-way trip," Nina told her crew. "Anyone who wants to leave can do so now." No one left. Tony Martinez, the explosives expert, had loaded their ship with enough quantum charges to crack a moon in half. Kate Johnson had calculated the exact point where their explosion would do the most damage. For Colony 7, Nina said as she activated the quantum tunnel, her ship appeared directly in front of the Galactic Dominion. Before the Council crew could react, Nina's ship slammed into the Dreadnought's command section and detonated. The explosion tore through 3 planet killers, destroying them completely and crippling several more. Admiral Keffer died in the explosion, along with thousands of Council troops. The Council fleet's advance slowed as confusion spread through their ranks. Dr. Emma Foster had one final contribution to the war effort. She activated a virus that she had secretly placed in the Council's communication systems months earlier. The virus spread through their network like wildfire, broadcasting the evidence of their genocides to every ship in their fleet. Many Council soldiers had never known the truth about their government. When they learned that they were serving mass murderers, some ships began to surrender. Others simply stopped fighting and drifted away from the battle. The tide turned completely when the Galactic Rebellion fleet arrived. Led by the Regelian Federation and the returned Taosetians, thousands of alien ships joined the battle. The Council forces found themselves surrounded and outnumbered for the first time in their history. Supreme Chancellor Vorthak watched his empire crumble around him. His fleet was being destroyed, his soldiers were deserting, and rebellions were breaking out across the galaxy. "Sir, we should retreat," suggested one of his remaining officers. "We can regroup and plan a counterattack." "No," Vorthak said coldly. "If I cannot rule the galaxy, I will destroy it." He reached for the self-destruct controls of his ship. If he could not win, he would take as many enemies with him as possible, but Jake Morrison had other plans. Using the Phoenix Protocol, his ship appeared directly on the bridge of Vorthak's dreadnought. Jake and his boarding party captured the Chancellor before he could destroy his ship. "Supreme Chancellor Vorthak," Jake said, looking into the eyes of the being who had ordered the massacre of his sister and 43,000 other innocent people. "You are under arrest for genocide and crimes against sentient life." The war ended not with Earth's destruction, but with the complete collapse of the Galactic Council. The remaining Council forces surrendered when they learned their leader had been captured. In the months that followed, a new government was formed. The Galactic Alliance was based on principles of equality and justice rather than fear and oppression. Representatives from dozens of species worked together to build a better future. Jake Morrison was chosen to represent humanity in the new government. His first act was to establish a memorial on the ruins of Colony 7. The memorial honored not just the human victims, but all the species that had been destroyed by the Council's tyranny. Dr. Paul Mitchell's quantum tunneling technology was shared freely with all members of the Alliance. No longer would any species have to fear being cut off from the rest of the galaxy. Emma Foster led the effort to document and publicize all of the Council's crimes. The evidence was preserved so that future generations would remember what happened when power was allowed to become absolute. A year after the battle, Jake stood before the memorial on Colony 7. The planet was being rebuilt as a symbol of hope and renewal. Children from dozens of different species played together in the new parks and schools. "We promised revenge," Jake said to the gathered crowd. "But we delivered something better. We delivered justice." He looked up at the stars. thinking of his sister Lisa and all the others who had died. Let this be a warning to anyone who would commit genocide against innocent people. The galaxy remembers. The galaxy never forgives. And the galaxy will always fight back against tyranny. The memorial's inscription was simple but powerful. To all those who died under tyranny, and to all those who fight for freedom, your sacrifice will never be forgotten. Humanity had kept its promise. The Galactic Council had paid for their crimes. And the galaxy was finally free. Captain Jake Morrison looked at the big screen on his ship's bridge. The stars around them looked normal, but something was wrong. His ship, the UES Defender, had been flying patrol near the human colony on New Haven for 3 days. The readings on his instruments were strange. "Captain, I'm getting something weird on long-range sensors," said Lieutenant Amy Carter. She was sitting at the communications desk, her fingers moving quickly over the controls. "It's big, sir, really big." Jake walked over to look at her screen. A massive shape was moving toward them from deep space. It was 10 times bigger than any human ship ever built. The metal hull looked smooth and alien, with strange curves and colors that hurt to look at. "How long until it reaches New Haven Colony?" Jake asked. Amy checked her numbers again. "About 6 hours, Captain. But sir, it's not alone. I'm reading at least 50 smaller ships with it." Jake felt his stomach drop. New Haven had 40,000 people living there. Men, women, children, families who had traveled from Earth to build new lives. The colony had no military ships, just cargo vessels and mining equipment. "Send a message to Earth Command," Jake ordered. "Tell them we have unknown alien ships approaching New Haven. Request immediate backup." Amy worked at her station for several minutes. When she looked up, her face was pale. "Captain, I can't reach Earth Command. Something is blocking our signals. Long-range communications are dead." The alien fleet moved closer. Jake could see details. Now on the main screen. The ships were beautiful in a terrible way, like weapons made by artists. They had energy shields that glowed blue around their hulls. Weapon ports lined their sides like teeth in a giant mouth. "Captain," called out Lieutenant Ben Parker from the weapons station. "They're scanning us. Really deep scans, like they're taking our ship apart piece by piece." Jake ordered red alert. Warning lights flashed red throughout the ship. The crew of 60 men and women moved to battle stations. They all knew their ship was small compared to what was coming toward them. The alien fleet stopped just outside the New Haven system. For 20 minutes, nothing happened. Jake and his crew waited, watching the screens, checking their weapons over and over. Then Amy's communications board lit up with incoming signals. "Captain, they're trying to talk to us," she said. "The signal is coming through on multiple frequencies." "It's in English, sir." "Put it on speakers," Jake ordered. The voice that came through was cold and mechanical, like a computer trying to sound human. "Human vessel, you will move away from this system immediately. This area is now under Zephyrian control. Your species has been marked for removal." Jake grabbed the microphone. "This is Captain Morrison of the United Earthship Defender. You are approaching a peaceful human colony. State your intentions." The response came quickly. "Captain Morrison, your species is inferior and dangerous. You spread like a disease across the galaxy. The Zephyrian Empire has decided to clean this infection before it grows worse. You have 1 hour to evacuate all humans from this system. After that, we will begin the cleansing process." Jake looked around his bridge. His crew stared back at him with fear and anger in their eyes. These aliens had just threatened to kill 40,000 innocent people. "Negative," Jake replied into the microphone. "These are peaceful colonists. They have done nothing wrong. We will not abandon them." There was a long pause. Then the alien voice returned, and now it sounded confused. "Captain Morrison, Our records show that inferior species always choose survival when faced with superior force. You cannot win this battle. Your ship is small and weak. Our weapons can destroy you in seconds. Why do you not flee? Jake thought about the children in the colony schools on New Haven. He thought about the farmers and miners who had worked so hard to build something good on a new world. He thought about his own daughter back on Earth and how he wanted her to grow up in a galaxy where bullies couldn't just murder innocent people. Because running away is not what humans do, Jake said. The alien responded with something that might have been laughter. Captain Morrison, we have conquered 17 different species across 3 centuries. They all said similar words at first. They all learned better. Your species will learn as well, or your species will die. Jake watched as the alien ships began to move again. They spread out in a battle formation that looked perfect and deadly. Energy began to build up around their weapons. All ships in this system will be destroyed in 5 minutes, the alien voice announced. This is your final warning. Amy looked up from her station. Captain, I'm picking up signals from the colony. They're asking what's happening up here. Jake made a decision that would change everything. He opened a channel to New Haven Colony and spoke clearly so everyone could hear. This is Captain Morrison. We have hostile alien ships threatening our system. They want us to leave or they will attack. I want you to know that the crew of the Defender will not abandon you. We will fight these aliens with everything we have. Send word to other colonies if you can. Tell them what happened here. Tell them that humans do not surrender to bullies. The alien voice came back, and now it sounded angry. Captain Morrison, you are making a mistake that will cost millions of human lives. We will destroy your ship first. Then we will destroy the colony. Then we will hunt down every human settlement in this sector. Your defiance will only make your species suffer more. Jake looked at his crew. They were scared, but they were ready. Weapons charged and ready, Captain, reported Ben Parker. Amy, try to punch a message through to Earth on type beam. Tell them aliens are attacking human colonies. Tell them we need help. Yes, sir, Amy replied. The alien fleet moved into attack position. Jake could see energy building up in their weapons. In a few minutes, the battle would begin. His small ship against 50 alien warships. It was impossible, but Jake Morrison had learned something important in his 30 years of life. Sometimes impossible things happen when good people refuse to quit. All hands, prepare for battle, Jake announced over the ship's speakers. Today, we fight for New Haven Colony. Today we fight for humanity. Today we show these aliens what humans are really made of. The first alien ship opened fire. The war between humans and the Zephyrian Empire had begun. Sergeant Mike Johnson crawled through the broken concrete of what used to be Main Street in Centauri Prime Colony. 3 months ago, this place had been home to 20,000 humans. Now it was a pile of smoking ruins controlled by Zephyrian ground forces. The aliens had won every space battle so far. Their ships were faster and stronger than anything humans had built. Their weapons could cut through human armor like paper. When they attacked a colony, they usually won in hours. But the Zephyrians had made one big mistake. They thought winning the battles meant winning the war. Mike's squad of 12 soldiers moved quietly through the destroyed buildings. They had been hiding in the underground tunnels for 2 weeks, coming out at night to hit alien supply convoys and communication towers. The Zephyrians kept sending more troops to the planet, but they couldn't understand why the humans wouldn't give up. Johnson, you see that power station? Whispered Corporal Lisa Brooks. She pointed to a building 3 blocks away where alien vehicles were charging their energy cells. We take that out, and their whole sector goes dark. Mike nodded. They had learned to make bombs from mining explosives and scrap metal. The Zephyrians had better technology, but they didn't expect humans to fight dirty. Their military training was all about clean battles between organized armies. "Karen, what's the timer on those charges?" Mike asked. Private Karen White checked her backpack full of homemade explosives. She had been a chemistry student before the war started. Now she was the best bomb maker in the Resistance. "5 minutes after I set them off, Sergeant." "That should give us time to get clear." The squad moved through the shadows toward the power station. 2 Zephyrian guards stood outside, their blue energy rifles glowing in the dark. The aliens were 8 feet tall with gray skin and 4 arms. They looked like they had never lost a fight in their lives. Mike hand signaled his team. They had done this attack pattern 15 times in the past 2 weeks. Private Ben Turner and Private Amy Davis circled around to the back. Corporal Steve Adams set up his rifle on a rooftop across the street. The rest of the squad waited for Mike's signal. The attack lasted 30 seconds. The Zephyrian guards went down before they could sound an alarm. Karen ran into the power station and planted her bombs while the others watched for enemy patrols. When she came back out, they all ran toward the tunnel entrance 2 blocks away. The explosion lit up the night sky. Every Zephyrian facility in 6 blocks went dark. Emergency sirens started wailing as alien forces scrambled to figure out what had happened. But Mike and his squad were already underground, moving through the old sewer system toward their next target. In space above the planet, Commander Nina Ross watched the explosions from her hiding spot behind the moon. Her ship, the U.S. Ranger, was the last human vessel still operating in the Centauri system. She had lost 8 ships from her original fleet, but she hadn't given up. The Zephyrians controlled the space around Centauri Prime, but they were getting nervous. Their communication signals showed increasing concern about human ground forces that wouldn't surrender. The aliens kept asking their high command for more troops and better equipment. Nina had been intercepting alien transmissions for weeks. Dr. Paul Martinez, the human linguist working with her crew, had figured out how to translate most of their military codes. What they found was surprising. "Commander, you need to hear this," Paul said over the ship's intercom. "I just decoded a message from the Zephyrian ground commander to their fleet admiral. They're reporting that human forces are showing signs of severe psychological damage." Nina floated over to Paul's workstation in the zero-gravity section of her ship. "What kind of psychological damage?" Paul showed her the translation on his screen. "They say humans are fighting even when they're badly wounded. They say human soldiers attack even when they know they're going to die. The Zephyrian commander is asking for advice on how to handle enemies who don't follow normal military behavior." Nina read the alien message twice. It was full of words that translated to things like confusion, concern, and request for guidance. The Zephyrians were winning every battle, but they sounded worried. "Paul, what's the response from the Zephyrian?" "High Command?" Paul pulled up another message. "They're sending a psychology expert to study human behavior. They want to understand why humans keep fighting when victory is impossible." Nina smiled for the first time in weeks. The aliens were so used to easy victories that they couldn't handle an enemy that refused to quit. Every other species they had conquered must have surrendered when the situation looked hopeless. But humans were different. Humans got angry when someone tried to exterminate them on the planet's surface. Mike Johnson's squad hit 3 more targets that night. They destroyed 2 communication relays and a fuel depot. When dawn came, they were back in the tunnels, but they could hear Zephyrian aircraft flying search patterns overhead. "They're getting frustrated," said Lisa Brooks. "Listen to how many ships they're using just to hunt 12 of us." Mike counted the sound of engines. At least 20 alien aircraft were searching for his small squad. That was 20 ships that weren't available for other missions. "Good," Mike said. "Let them waste their time. Tonight we hit the landing pad where they bring in supplies." Karen White was already making new bombs from the spare parts they had collected. Sergeant, I intercepted something on their radio frequencies. They're bringing in a special team to study human psychology. They want to understand why we won't surrender. Mike laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. They want to study us? Let me save them some time. We won't surrender because you don't negotiate with people who want to kill your whole species. The other soldiers nodded. They had all lost friends and family when the Zephyrians attacked. They had all seen the alien broadcasts demanding human extinction. There was nothing to negotiate about. That night, Mike's squad destroyed the main supply depot at the spaceport. The explosion was so big that it shook buildings 10 miles away. When Zephyrian reinforcements arrived, they found a message spray-painted on a wall in the human language. You started this war, we'll finish it. The Zephyrian psychology expert arrived the next day. His name was Scholar Vex, and he had studied the surrender patterns of 16 different species. He was confident that he could figure out how to make humans give up. Scholar Vex spent 3 days studying human behavior. He watched recordings of the ground fighting. He analyzed the radio communications between human resistance groups. He read reports from Zephyrian commanders who were confused by human tactics. His final report to the Zephyrian High Command was 3 pages long, but the important part was 1 sentence. These humans appear to become more dangerous as they suffer. More losses. This is unprecedented in our experience with other species. The war was 3 months old, and the Zephyrians were winning every battle. But for the first time in 3 centuries of conquest, they were starting to worry about the enemy they were fighting. Captain Ben Turner watched the massive Zephyrian command ship through the cracked window of his bridge. His ship, the U.S. Liberty, was dying around him. Half his crew was dead, and the other half was badly hurt. His weapons were gone, his engines were failing, and his life support would stop working in 10 minutes. The war had been going on for 8 months now. The aliens controlled most of human space, but something had changed. The Zephyrians were not acting like winners anymore. They were acting like people who were scared. "Captain, we're getting surrender signals from the alien fleet," said Lieutenant Danny Mills from the communications station. Blood was running down his face from a head wound, but he stayed at his post. "They're broadcasting on all frequencies. They want to negotiate." Ben laughed, but it hurt his broken ribs. "Tell them what I think about their negotiations." The Zephyrian fleet had just destroyed the human colony on New Texas. 50,000 men, women, and children had died when the aliens burned the planet from space. Before that, they had wiped out the settlements on Blue Ridge, River's End, and Pine Valley. But the aliens were learning something they didn't like. Every time they killed humans, more humans showed up to fight them. Every time they won a battle, the next battle was harder. Every time they thought they had broken human resistance, the humans came back stronger and angrier. "Captain," Danny said, "the alien commander is asking to speak with you personally. He says they want to discuss terms for ending the war." Ben looked around his bridge. His ship was the last one left from the Jupiter Defense Fleet. 47 human ships had fought against 200 Zephyrian vessels. The aliens had won, but it had cost them 60 ships and thousands of soldiers. "Put him on screen," Ben ordered. The alien commander appeared on the main display. He was tall and gray like all Zephyrians, but this one looked tired. His forearms moved nervously, and his large black eyes kept looking around like he expected an attack. "Human Captain, I am Fleet. Commander Zeph Tor of the Cleansing Force. Your ship is destroyed. Your weapons are gone. Your crew is dying. There is no reason to continue this fight. We offer you safe passage if you surrender now." Ben stared at the alien on his screen. "Commander, 8 months ago your people came to our worlds and said, you were going to exterminate us. You said we were inferior and dangerous. You said we were like a disease that needed to be cleaned up. Did you think we would just forget about that?" Fleet Commander Zeph Tor's arms moved faster. Captain, the Zephyrian Empire has reconsidered our position. Perhaps we were too hasty in our judgment of human species. We are prepared to offer your people a place in our empire as a client species. You would have protection and technology in exchange for loyalty. Ben felt anger burning in his chest like a fire. You killed my brother on New Texas last week. You killed his wife and his 2 little girls. You burned them alive from space because you thought they were inferior. Now you want to be friends? Captain Turner, please be reasonable. This war is costing both our species too much. We have lost more ships fighting humans than we lost conquering the previous 16 species combined. Your people fight with a ferocity that is disturbing to our forces. We wish to end this conflict before more blood is shed. Ben checked his ship's status one more time. The engines were completely dead now. Life support had 4 minutes left. His remaining 12 crew members were looking at him, waiting for orders. Danny, are you recording this conversation? Ben asked. Yes, sir. Broadcasting it on all human frequencies. Ben looked back at the alien commander. Zeftor, I want every human in the galaxy to hear this. You came to our homes to murder our families. You started a war of extermination. Now you're losing that war, and you want mercy. Fleet Commander Zeftor leaned forward on his screen. Captain, your species cannot win this war. We have more ships, more weapons, more soldiers. Eventually, you will run out of people to throw at us. Why not end this now while some humans can still live? Ben smiled, and it was not a nice smile. Because we're not throwing people at you, Commander. We're teaching you a lesson. Every human who dies fighting your people teaches other humans how to kill Zephyrians better. Every battle you win shows us your weaknesses. Every ship you lose means you have fewer ships to fight with tomorrow. This is insane, Zeftor said. No species fights like this. When defeat is certain, intelligent beings seek survival through negotiation. Maybe that's why you conquered 16 other species so easily, Ben replied. They were intelligent. They tried to be reasonable. But humans aren't reasonable when someone tries to kill our children. Ben turned to his crew. All hands prepare. For ramming speed, target the alien command ship. Danny Mills looked up from his station. Captain, are you sure about this? We could try to escape in the life pods. No, Ben said. These aliens need to learn something important about humans. They need to learn that we don't negotiate with people who want to exterminate us. Ben turned back to the screen where Fleet Commander Zeftor was watching with growing alarm. Commander, you wanted to see how humans fight when we're cornered. You're about to get a demonstration. The U.S. Liberty's emergency engines came online. The ship was barely holding together, but it could still move. Ben pointed his dying vessel straight at the massive Zephyrian command ship. Captain Turner. Stop this madness, Zeftor shouted. We surrender. We offer you complete surrender. Too late for that, Ben said. You should have thought about surrender before you started burning our worlds. The Liberty picked up speed, heading directly for the alien flagship. The Zephyrian ships around them began firing desperately, but Ben's ship was already too close to their command vessel. The alien shields were designed to stop energy weapons, not a 3,000-ton piece of metal, traveling at full speed. Ben's last transmission was broadcast across the entire solar system. Every human ship, every human colony, every human resistance fighter heard his final words. This is Captain Ben Turner of the U.S. Liberty. We came here to defend our people. The aliens asked for mercy. I want everyone to remember something important. When someone tries to exterminate your entire species, you don't give them mercy. You give them exactly what they gave your families. The Liberty crashed into the Zephyrian command ship at ramming speed. Both vessels exploded in a ball of fire that could be seen from Jupiter's moons. The remaining Zephyrian fleet retreated from the Jupiter system within an hour. They had won the battle, but they were sending desperate messages to their high command. The messages all said the same thing. Humans do not surrender. Humans do not negotiate. When humans are losing, they become more dangerous, not less dangerous. Request immediate strategic review of this war.